In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast, live edition, and we are ready to rock and roll. I got my man, Zach Blackerby, got my guy, Daryl Dapprich, and we are ready to rock and roll, discuss this scrimmage. Is it time to panic on the offense? Defense looks really, really good. We'll talk about the different pieces of intel that we received from the scrimmage that was closed to all media. So you had to really dig to get any notes. We're going to talk about that, and then if it's changed, our expectations make us feel one way or the other, better, worse, as far as Auburn and the upcoming season. Hey, Zach, that spread's swinging back in Auburn's favor. It's kind of crazy, but we'll talk about all that as well in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Rhoback.com. If you go there, they got some new Auburn gear ready for you for fall. So save big. They got a new polo. They got a new hoodie. They got a new pullover. A lot of fun stuff. That polo is pretty sweet too. I think I'm going to snag it. Save big. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. If you don't want Auburn gear, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't want any Auburn gear, they got everything else that you can imagine as well. So save big. Show them some love. It's Rhoback.com. Guys, the first scrimmage of fall camp has come and gone, and I don't want to say there's mixed reviews. It's pretty much unanimous. The defense dominated was the text that I received with about 10 exclamation points. Defense dominated very excitedly. So I want to talk about just some of the notes and things that you guys have heard, your takeaways, and then kind of focus on the defense first, and then let's hit the offense later. But Zach, just right off the bat, defense dominating. Overall thoughts from the different items that you were told or you had heard from this past weekend?
I wanted Jackson Arnold to get a win, and it doesn't sound like that happened. Jay Crawford had a day, which is my guy.
Oh yeah.
It sounded like the entire defensive backs were electric, which is encouraging. And then, something that Daryl pointed out that I kind of pushed back on last week, and now I'm kind of in step with him. But the running backs need to find a way to consistently be available, and I don't know if we're seeing that yet.
What are your takeaways from different things that have been said?
Since I can remember following college football in the preseason, when it used to be you got your news in a newspaper, I constantly heard the defense is ahead of the offense, even at this part of the season in scrimmages. And so it's something that's kind of I'm numb to. I know some people get feelings about it or have certain emotions about it. I look at it this way. I look at it that it could be one of two things. The offense could be really, really poor, and that's why your defense is ahead, or your defense may be really, really good. And when your offense plays other defenses that aren't that good, it plays better because it's used to playing really good competition. I'd rather the latter. I'd rather go into the season knowing that I have a known quantity in a defense that can win some games. Defense travels. I know Auburn people want to see points, and I feel like there will be. But I think when you're in a game where the offense could sputter for a couple of drives on the road, Auburn seems to have the kind of defense that can A, win you a game, or B, at least keep you in the game until the offense figures it out. And so I don't think it's time to really push the panic button. And I think Auburn's particularly and purposefully, and I know you'll get into this more, Kyle, doing things at scrimmages that maybe they're trying to get out of their box a little bit and they're not real good at or not comfortable with, so that they improve.
Sure. And we'll talk about offense in just a second. The common denominator, Zach, that we've been hearing, and I know you love this, is that this defensive backroom is pretty freaking incredible. Like they are deep, and I'm not talking just the corners. I'm also talking safeties. Jacquizz Robinson, I think, had an INT, had a pick, and there's pictures of it that Auburn, I think somebody maybe Auburn Sports posted one of his interceptions. He's a guy that I don't think many people have really ever expected much out of, and he's another one of those just laundry list of dudes back there that are just making plays. I was very impressed. I mean, this was not from the scrimmage, but just the physicality of those guys going up against these wide receivers in those one-on-ones. They don't back down, man.
No, they don't back down. And
I heard you were talking about the big hit that he made on Damari. I think he knocked his helmet off. That's what I was told. He knocked his helmet off. Like it was one of those type hits. And he just from a corner on a 215-pound running back. I guess our bigger running back, one of the bigger running backs that we have. So those guys, I mean, I think about when I played baseball and you're swinging on deck and you had the old donut swing weight and you swung it with a weight because it felt like when you got up to bat, the bat was much lighter. That's got to feel like, I feel like that's what these defensive backs are going to feel like, and wide receivers in turn when they get out there, because of just the freaking competition that they're giving each other day in and day out. And one of the common denominators is that defensive back room is just elite.
Yeah, I mean that's what you've heard so much about top programs, right? Is the practices are so physical, and then once you get to games, it's easier. And like I think that'll be the case for several of the positions on Auburn's team: corner, DB, receiver. So yeah, no, I think that's definitely part of it. Jacquizz Robinson's interesting because like there's been so many guys, like he just doesn't get mentioned. But I do wonder if he's getting more playing time at safety, because Sylvester Smith, we assume, would be the safety next to Caleb, and he's played a lot of nickel. So I kind of wonder if they're rotating more guys at safety, and he might be one of the ones that they're looking at. But yeah, I mean, that's super exciting for sure.
Daryl, anybody in particular in the defensive backfield that you've been really surprised or you're really excited about?
I'm excited about Strader, even though he doesn't look to be starting. And I think it's because some of the footage that I've seen, I love the corners that are real physical and that are dogs and that are, just very confident in themselves and let you know about it. And they stick to you and they fight, they battle, they're scrappy. And he is going against Cam Coleman a lot in these drills and does not look intimidated. I mean, he's just very, very difficult to catch footballs against. And I like that. And I like the swag that he has. And I think he is going to be able to come in and get reps and get snaps. No, he's not going to start, but make an impact. And again, I've said this over and over again. And of course, people want to twist it however they want. When you have backups like that on your roster at whatever position, we can go from quarterback to offensive line to now cornerback, and it's a luxury, not a necessity. You have a tendency to win a lot of football games. And so I'm encouraged by the Robinson news, because when Auburn got him last year and I looked at his size, I thought this is going to be someone that's going to be able to, I felt like he'd start pretty quickly, and he had to learn the system. Strader's a guy that I just like his attitude and I like his nastiness. So that's encouraging to me.
I totally agree. Real quick, if you're in the comments, you got any questions, hit them up and we'll try to answer some questions as they come in. So throw those in there and we'll get after it. Commenting on Strader. So I was at practice on Thursday and they were doing those one-on-one drills and he goes up against Cam and it's just a physical rep and Strader wins it and lets Cam know about it. He has no problem. He's so much like Jay. I feel like he's so much like Jay Crawford. Kayan's more of a silent assassin. Jay Crawford, he wants to get in your face and let you know about it. Strader is definitely that same guy.
Can I ask y'all a question about corner depth?
Yeah.
What does that look like logistically?
I've wondered the same thing. Like,
I'll give you in a scenario. That's a great question. Do you remember how excited we were 2 years ago when Nehemiah Pritchett was on one end and DJ James was on the other for the season to start? And then that excitement turned to being a little bit angry because for 4 games, Nehemiah Pritchett didn't play, and a young freshman named Kayan Lee came in and played really well, and star kind of rose.
Let's assume they don't get hurt.
Okay.
Let's assume there's no – I mean, obviously, if somebody gets injured, the third corner is going to play more. Like, let's assume they're all healthy, which is the goal, right, is everybody's healthy. Logistically, what does that look like?
I guess what does it look like is you guys could answer this better than me, but schemes, if you're playing teams that go more 3 wide, 4 wide, you have to put them on the field.
I also think
my understanding, though, is none of those 3 guys are playing nickel.
Right.
So I don't think they would all 3 be on the field at the same time.
This is what I think is that you're good and Strader's good enough, I think, for there to be some type of rotation to where whether it's every other drive or in certain situations, I think he's good enough to where you could sit one of those guys out and he can go in and give that guy a break to come in and you don't see any drop off.
Yeah.
And I would honestly, I almost corner. I know anytime you have a guy out there and you want to go with the hot hand, I totally get that. And I think that could be a scenario to where if somebody's balling, you don't take them out. But I could easily see it's working some type of rotation to, again, if it's a series or if it's a set of downs or whatever, I could see some type of rotation. I'm almost expecting that. I think it would be beneficial, especially for a guy like Strader who wants to play, like he came here to play.
Yeah.
And I think he's deserving. So would y'all object to any kind of rotation if you felt like Strader was as good? I mean, he's basically a third number 1 guy out there. Would you object to anything like that?
Well, I think that even if it's not a true rotation, for us to sit here and think, not even throwing an injury scenario, that a corner is going to be able to play at a really, really high level every single snap, you're going to have to give them a blow. You're going to have to give them a break. You're going to have to give them some rest during the course of a game. And what better way to do it within a dog coming off the sidelines and there being no drop off?
Yeah, and that's part of why I asked the question is like you don't really ever see that where you take, like, if you've got 2 corners you believe in and your third guy, but it's going to be a situation where you feel better about your third guy than most teams do. And so, like, is that why you don't see it? I'm not sure. And then I'm excited to see if they kind of define certain corners by like field corners or boundary corners. Like, I think Strader's a boundary corner to me, where it's just like, you give them less grass to cover, but you tell them, hey, beat the crap out of the guy that you're covering at the line.
Yes.
And so, like, I don't think he can do as many things as the top 2, but he's still exceptional, I think, at doing that specific thing.
There's a role. You make a great point, Zach. Some receivers that are really, really good, and I don't mean that condescending. I hope they didn't come across that way. That was absolutely heartfelt. Because it popped into my mind when you said that. I was trying to figure out how to put it into words. There are some receivers that off the line of scrimmage do not like you to get physical with them. And though you may have corners that are really long and can run like deer and has good hips and can swivel, but they may not be physical, that receiver is who you would line up a Strader against. That you beat the crap out of him and don't make him comfortable, and you push him to the sidelines. Because some of the stuff I saw, Kyle, and Zach, you did too on film, was a lot of sideline stuff that Strader was, real close to the sidelines, breaking up passes and being physical. There's a role for someone to do that, and it gets frustrating if you get in a receiver's head that way.
And Strader was so much better than the teams that MAC or Ohio Valley. What conference?
MAC.
Yeah, Ohio's in the MAC. Yeah, I mean, he was just so much better than the MAC receivers he was going up against. And I mean, it sounds like he's holding his own against Auburn's receivers. And so if you can do that, you can do that against pretty much anybody on the schedule. So very, very excited about all of them for sure.
One note I wanted to share and kind of get you guys' thoughts on it. Had someone that was there to I think there were some scouts there specifically to watch wide receivers and offensive line. Everybody loves our wide receivers and offensive line. But one of the guys I felt like got a lot of, I don't know a lot of details about him as far as like what happened in the scrimmage, but he popped. and that was Jordan Crawford, who they're like, holy cow, who's that guy? And turns out he's, true freshman Jordan Crawford. The defensive line as a whole, I will admit, going into this season, that was one of those positions to where I had a little bit of a question mark, doubts, wasn't 1,000% confident there. I don't know about you guys, but my feelings about the defensive line every day coming out of camp seem to get more confident and confident. Am I way out of bounds there?
No, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on with it. And I mean, I think that might be the biggest takeaway from the scrimmage. I do have plenty of questions, but as far as like one of the answers I came away with was the defensive line, and like the depth there is not a concern. Do y'all remember a few years ago when we had all these guys with the last name Davis, and like that was what a run? It's Crawford now with Jay and Kieran and Jordan. It's like, man, find a better trio with the same last name in the SEC. I dare you.
We did a lot of shows, Zach and I, leading up to fall camp about what were our biggest concerns. And, because we're talking about the defense, I won't talk about the other two that I mentioned. But the interior defensive line was one that just kept popping up on my radar. And then, I'll be honest, Kyle, you started kind of making me be a bigger believer in James Ash and hearing good things about that. And, hearing stuff about Dallas Walker, and then these two freshmen and Autry and Crawford, and then Travis is playing better, and Zacchaeus Walker. It went away. Now, of course, you got to prove it on the field in games, but we're only talking about before you go into the season. What are your concerns? There's a lot of concerns that you can come up, and once the season starts, that doubt or that fear has kind of gone away with me. I'm a lot more comfortable about the interior defensive line.
Absolutely. Anything else on the defense that you feel is noteworthy that you want to talk about before we switch gears and talk about the offense? Because I feel like that could go in.
Yeah, the same little conversation that you had with the people that were there, the scouts that were there to witness and rave about two particular position groups on the offense that were not surprised. I was very encouraged to hear that they were absolutely overwhelmed and blown away about how good the defensive back room was.
Yeah. You're
talking about NFL scouts. You're not talking about Joe Blow that donates $250 to a collective every month. It's there. Nothing wrong with those people that's there just watching as a fan. And I think that just really reiterates and cements the feeling that a lot of people around the program have about what this secondary could be.
And I think an example of that, though, and because a lot of them are underclassmen, which is exciting, but they start watching these guys early. Do you remember the guy that an NFL scout told us about 2 trips ago to the Senior Bowl? Well, Sylvester Smith.
He sure was.
And we kind of forgot about Sylvester Smith because of, how good Caleb has been and Winters and New Boy all coming in. And it's like, okay, but Sylvester Smith's not going away. In fact, he's apparently been so good at nickel that he may have solidified that spot, and then Champ Anthony might be playing more safety is what some people are saying. So the depth is there. I mean, there's just so many guys that could do so many different things back there.
Absolutely. I love it. Let's switch gears and let's talk about offense. I know that's going to be what most people are concerned about. And right off the bat, we had a question, and I think it's fine. We can all kind of give our opinion on what you think. How's Jackson looking? I think that's been everybody's number one concern. And let's just talk about it from the scrimmage standpoint. You guys correct me if you feel like I'm incorrect here based off of intel, but it sounds like really no quarterback, at least through the air, had a ton of success. I think most success, if any, came at all, came on the ground. And you got to take that for whatever it's worth because they're not tackling to the ground. But I think Jackson has been shown, I think, in this scrimmage and other periods where it's been 11 on 11, there have been some, just it is what it is. There's been some struggles in the passing game. The running game seems to be fine. The RPO game seems to be fine. But whenever there's a scenario where they're dropping back to pass, they just they struggle. I don't really know any other way to put it than that. And I think you saw a lot of that on Friday. you didn't see that, but that's what we heard a lot on Friday as well. I guess the question is, like, at this point in time, what do you do with that, or how do what do you take from that, or how do you feel about that at this point in time in fall camp? I guess Zach, I'll just ask you, like,
well, at the macro, like, I don't think it matters.
Yeah,
like it's not time to panic, but I do think you can ask some questions.
Sure,
I do think that that's warranted. It's like, okay, well, all the key pieces of this offense, with the exception of Xavier Chaplin, are returning guys or they went through spring, right? Connor Lew, returning guy, didn't go through spring, but like Connor Lew knows the offense. And so, like, I don't love that they're not clicking yet. I don't love that. I wanted Jackson to get a win, even if it was just a moment. And like, he didn't get one moment in this scrimmage. And like that, I think you can ask, like, how does that happen? Like, how does, like, he didn't find Cam or Eric once for like a big opportunity? It's like that's my question. Am I panicking? No. Am I concerned? No. But I do think that's a question that's worth asking.
I did hear, so I do think he did have a touchdown run that was called back for holding. So there was a touchdown run that was called back, and I think there was one big play, but it sounded like it was an incredible catch to Eric Singleton.
That's fine.
Which is
I'm
great.
okay with that.
Like you said, it's
but wasn't
not,
there some discussion on if he actually caught it or not, though?
That was on Thursday. I'm talking about.
I'm getting my practices mixed up.
I'm talking about in the actual scrimmage. So
got it.
I'm with you, Daryl. What are your thoughts based off of?
I'm going to pull out my famous line. I think two things can be true at once. I think you can absolutely be concerned, not panicking, but a little bit concerned. But then on the other side, feel really, really good about this elite defensive secondary that we're hearing about, that, it is hard to catch the ball, and even with these elite receivers. And I would also say this, and I guess it's because I'm one of those people that loves to, like, go back and look at things and look at historical trends and data. And I remember stupid stuff and stupid facts. I remember I was so excited and high on Jared Stidham coming into 2017 because I felt like Auburn finally had that dude transfer from Baylor, Big 12 school, former Big 12s, all that. And I remember hearing reports and seeing things in scrimmages that he was just struggling. He was struggling with picking up
the spring. I do think that matters.
Pardon me?
He didn't go through spring though. Like, I do think that
matters. I mean, he was also, I mean, I'm just using a reference that sometimes, and I didn't think that Auburn's defense was going to be really that good that year in 2017, and it turned out to be a little bit better. Kevin Steele did a really good job. I don't know. I think that a lot of times too, don't forget, sometimes we may be running things to get out of our comfort zone to that we're not good at, and the defense's nose is coming, and that has something to do with it too. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying we don't know all the components for people to really make a final determination on it yet. And even if we did feel good about it, even if Jackson Arnold threw for 3 TDs in the scrimmage, I would be saying the opposite. I'd be saying, I don't know if it means that much. Let's see him do it on August 29th. That would be the same take that I would have.
Everybody would be like, they're taking it too easy on
They're
Jackson.
taking it too easy. Our defense sucks. Our secondary is overrated. We're not getting any push. Keyron Crawford can't get to the quarterback.
It's fake. Hughes designing it this way. But anyway, this is a great question because of the success, the little bit of success that was on the ground. Preston Herring asks, how much of the offense / Jackson Arnold struggles in fall camp are driven by the QBs not being able to use their legs? I think it's a fair question. I don't want to put it all on the fact that they can't go live and can't run. Like, you still got to be able to throw the ball around. You still got to you can't just completely give to just running every other play. But that is an element that all 3 of those quarterbacks are, I'm going to say it, I think above average to elite at running from the quarterback position. I think Deuce had a touchdown run. Ashton had a touchdown run in the scrimmage. But Jackson had one called back for a holding. They are great runners. And when the lights come on and it's actually tackle football, that is an element that's going to make things different. Yeah. But I don't know if it has really a ton to do with it seems like it's very specific when there's issues, like a very specific what they're trying to do where they have issues. And this is what I wanted to share. I talked to someone close to the program, and I actually didn't even ask the question, but someone asked them, "Hey, it sounds like the offense struggled. You know, what was the deal?" And this particular person, I think, has, you know, a lot of connections on the offensive side of the ball. And they're like, "Hey, look, we can make the scrimmage look however we want to. We can go out there and we can just go run the stuff that we know works and put up numbers for a scrimmage if we want to, or we can try to do and work on the things that we're not necessarily great at yet, and try to get better, because those are the things that are going to help us go and win those big games on the road. Like if you get behind, okay, and we got to get into obvious passing scenarios. We got to be able to pass the ball. If we're down and we got to come back, we got to be able to pass the ball, and not just from the RPO and quick screen game and whatnot. We've got to be able to drop back, see the field, and make things happen. And it seems to me like that's whenever things bog down, and that's what they're focused on working on. So I thought that was something that was very, I guess a perspective that I hadn't really thought of before. Any comments or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. And I'll say this slowly so that some people in the chat that apparently have a retention problem can understand what I'm saying. I'll slow down. Saying things like what you just said, Kyle, and getting that kind of intel is cause and effect, not excuses. They're facts. I'm not here to make excuses. You're not here to make excuses. You can share intel and people can take it however they want. I'm a little bit surprised and sometimes get a little bit frustrated when information is shared and people are just, I don't understand how the negativity, just constantly seeing everything like you talked about. If the offense was lighting it up, there would be a faction of Auburn fans that would be negative, saying the defense sucks. So you can hear things like this and understand that it's cause and effect. Take it however you want, but it's just intel being shared. It's legitimate. And I think it's factual that the person that shared that with you would have no reason just to kind of make that up.
Sure.
That's my comment about that.
Zach, what do you think about that in general? Like, hey, when we're in game-like scenarios, we're not trying to go win the scrimmage. We're trying to get better. Do you feel like that's legitimate, or is it some sort of like coping mechanism, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I think it all makes sense. I still think you should ask the question, though, like, do you get a moment? Do you have a flash of it clicking throughout all of the created adversity within the controlled situation? And so, like, I think you're right. I'm not pushing back against that. I've heard similar things, but I still hate that there wasn't a moment for the offense. And I know we can talk about rushing touchdowns or whatever. I don't think that's our concern about the offense. It's not my concern about the offense. No. So that's my only.
My other concern
question.
is,
I'm not even going to say concern. It's my only question.
My other concern is this happening from a passing attack standpoint because the running game and the running backs is so ineffective at this point right now and not getting really any kind of push or any kind of.
Is that our biggest concern now? Are we at that point?
For me, it is.
Yeah.
I think walking away from this scrimmage, I think the two things that I feel a little bit more concrete in my opinion on is the depth on the defensive line is okay, and the running back situation is way worse than it was a year ago.
Well, and it's funny too, because when was it? It was last Saturday. They had the media viewing period, and you had like Darrell Robinson had a pop for 40 yards or so. Mabson, I think, ended the scrimmage with a 40-yard run. Since then, what little I've seen, and then the reports from the scrimmage is, boy, there is just, when they go to 11-on-11, they cannot run the ball. Like they really struggle running the ball. And again, it could be, hey, we know we're not that good at this one particular area, and we're trying to really focus on this. I don't know what they're telling the running backs to do. If they're saying, hey, just get the positive gain. I don't know if there's any options off of it, and it's just straight run handoffs. Like, I don't know what it is. But for the last 2 practices, it feels like when they've gone 11 on 11, I think Omar may have had a pretty decent run on Friday in the scrimmage. But for the most part, that's been the theme, is like there's nowhere to go.
Omar seems to be the beacon of positivity when talking about the running backs. Like, I don't even know if it's legitimate or not. Like, I think there's a chance that Omar is way better than we thought day one. But like, is Omar going to hop the guys in front of him? I genuinely don't know. Like, and how much of it is just a fall fling and he's the newest guy in the room and it's a great story because, local kid and all this stuff. Like, I genuinely don't know. I have like, the running back room is the most discussed and one of the most like dissected part of fall camp. And I'm more confused about the room now than I was going into it.
I've had days where I felt okay. And I was really excited after last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago. But then, after this past week, it's been like, boo, they really struggled.
Yeah. And there's a chance, guys, that we line up on Friday night in Waco and Alvin and Darrell or whoever the 2 main backs are. I think it's going to stop at 2. That's just my opinion. We'll see. But they're able to get 8 yards a pop because of the matchup. Because I've said this all off season. I think Auburn is way better on both sides of the trenches than Baylor. And so like, I think they're going to have holes to be able to run through based off of what Baylor was able to do last year. And they're like, oh, well, they're bringing all these guys back. And I'm like, oh, all these guys that had like the second worst, like if their points per game were moved to the SEC, it would be the second worst defense in the SEC last year. And it's like, yeah, you're bringing all those guys back. That's fantastic. That's great. So yeah, to me, like there could be a ton of questions, but it could totally all work out because of similar to what we're talking about with the offensive passing game. Like the matchups could be good enough in Auburn's favor against Baylor.
We got a super chat question, NH3425. Know of any freshman redshirting? And he mentioned.
I don't think they make that decision right now.
I don't think so either. And didn't they pass the 5-year eligibility rule? Don't you have 5 years of eligibility now? Is there even a reason to redshirt anymore?
I don't know if they passed that rule, but I don't think there's a reason to redshirt anymore.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either.
But if you just run out of eligibility, just sue the NCAA, and they'll be okay. So sorry. Here you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you only played in 6 games as a freshman. Yeah, that shouldn't count.
Yeah. I see a lot of questions about Alex McPherson. What little I've seen him, he's looked good. He's kicking in warm-ups.
Like he's way healthier than a year ago.
They're definitely taking it easy on him. They're definitely monitoring it and not pushing it. But I think he is. I think he's going to be good. Saw him make several in a row at practice on Thursday. I think he did miss one. He did miss one in one of the 11 on 11 periods, but it's pretty rare for him.
I heard that 40 and in he hasn't missed this fall, that he has been really automatic, and that he's still getting a little bit of his strength all the way back. And but that if that's what you need, I mean, I'll take that all day long. I mean, obviously he'll widen that and get out to 45 and 50 because you're going to need to make some 50-yarders and 45-yarders. I get it. At this point, I just can remember all the missed kicks inside the 30 last year, and so you clean that up, and that's a swing.
I'm going to answer one more question, and we're probably going to call it a night. James Barnett, and I think this is a fair question. Could the reason be no one said anything about Jackson Arnold is because he didn't throw a touchdown? Maybe he did have some moments, ? Look, I get that, but the thing is, we did hear of when I know of one decent pass play he had, but Deuce also had a big pass play that it does seem like that we were getting notes when it didn't have to be a touchdown when there was a big pass play, and it just didn't seem like there were a lot of those, if very many at all.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, Kyle, the 3 folks that I talked to that were at the scrimmage, I specifically asked, like, what were the positive moments for Jackson? And 2 of the 3 answered that with he didn't have any. And then 1 pointed out he had a touchdown run that was called back.
Yeah. So I just don't think there was many big.
The first guy who called me inside the program. I mean, aware of everything going on. Said I was really looking forward to seeing how Jackson performed today, and I was frustrated because we didn't get to see it.
There you go. So that it's not anybody sugarcoating it or trying to be overly negative. It just wasn't a great scrimmage. If that's what if that's what we're trying to get out of it, is to see Jackson have a big through the air day. The thing is, though, none of them really did. Nobody. It's not like Jackson didn't and everybody else did. Just overall, from an offensive perspective, the quarterbacks didn't have the best day through the air, and that included Jackson. I think we obviously want to see.
I guess since we're offering as much context as we can right here, like my understanding, y'all let me know if y'all heard differently, but like Malcolm Simmons was there, but not practicing. He was dressed up on the sideline, but I don't think he was there. And so, like, could that have impacted part of the offense? Possibly. I mean, you hope that one guy doesn't have that much of a, impact on the passing game, but just giving context, do with that what you will.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see too, if there is a progression and an improvement to scrimmage number 2, which sometimes happens a lot.
And also, like, let's think about all the times, I'm going to say we, but I'm really just talking about myself. Like, I'm wrong a lot, but the most wrong I've ever been was reacting to a scrimmage that was good news, that was talking about, what Kyle said, when there were moments of positivity for the passing game. And, Auburn took that clip of Shane Hooks with his ridiculous touchdown catch. And I'm like, yep, 1,000-yard receiver. Let's go. And so, like, context is important. Like, how much does this really matter? I don't know. I do think there's things that we can pull out of it that matter, but at the macro level, I don't think it really matters.
I'll say that. I'll say this too. And I don't think this is unfair, but like, it's almost hard to see. It's almost hard to see how they can't be good on offense. Like when you really look at it from top to bottom, and when you factor in being able to utilize the running quarterback, the wide receivers, like, it's really hard to see how they're not going to be good on offense. I know maybe they can struggle a little bit in the running game, but does being able to keep the defense off balance, does that help? Like, it's hard to. I'm not writing the story yet based off of this scrimmage. I've seen moments of success with my own eyes, and I know they're loaded. They got a lot of talent. So you do want to have some wins. You do want to have some wins that you can kind of put under your belt and feel good about it. So, Dap, anything left? Anything else left to add?
Yeah, I could be 100% wrong, and like Zach, I've been wrong a lot lately, which Zach was talking about. But I would say that the makeup of this team, in my mind, is you don't have to be great on offense to win the amount of games that Auburn, I think, wants to win. I just think you need to be good. It's solid, take care of the ball, keep the defense off the field a little bit, keep the other defense off balance. And I think that will be such an improvement over what we saw last year that it could absolutely swing games into Auburn's favor. Sure.
I don't disagree. Guys, I appreciate y'all jumping in the chat with the questions. A lot of fun. We're only, 18 days away till kickoff. We got a lot of live stream stuff, announcements coming out for games that I think is going to be a lot of fun that everybody can participate in and have a good time. But guys, I really appreciate it. We will be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.